Hey, you're listening to Blindsight. Let's go. Mental health isn't something to take lightly. It's time to fight. It's time to thrive. Let's do this.
Welcome to Blindsight. I'm your host, Bill Lundgren, as usual. And today we're going to have kind of a heavy topic to talk about, but it's real important. I had mentioned the last time that we were going to be talking about our basic emotions. We did glad last week. Now we're into three-letter emotions, and this one starts with S, is sad. And it's very important that we talk about it. We probably could go off for 4 or 5 sessions just on this alone, but we're just going to talk about, a little bit a setting when we talk about understanding sadness, what it is. And remember that the 4 emotions, they're neither good nor bad. They are what we have, and what gets us into trouble is often how we deal with them. And I'm just delighted to have Darran back with us. Darran, you may remember, or if you didn't hear the last session, Darran Zenger is a therapist and certainly has a lot of experience in helping people with emotion. And Darran, I'm just delighted to have you here. Welcome.
It's great to be back, Bill. I enjoy our sessions and diving in and helping people understand these basic emotions. You're right. It's not good or bad. They just are. And I like to shift people's perspective that emotions are more about uncomfortable than anything else.
Well, I'll share with you that I, of course, like millions of other people, came from a dysfunctional family. Mm-hmm. And I remember as a little boy, my father died suddenly. And my mother's solution to dealing with the emotions that she had was never made a rule never to cry in front of the 3 children, because she didn't want us to be upset, as if we weren't upset, but she had the delusion that we weren't. And she would go to a neighbor's house and cry there and then come back. So I think my younger sister and I both became therapists because this was such unfortunate thinking that we needed to do something to find a different way of operating. So that's my story. So do you want to talk a little bit about sadness and your story and go for it?
I can go in a lot of different ways with this. I mean, I'm gonna be pretty honest and upfront. I'm a guide dog user, and this morning heard the confirmation news that I would have to put my trusty 4-legged animal down here soon, due to age and some complications and just sitting in that office there with the vet this morning and being in tears and a tissue and knowing it's the right thing. It's also the hardest thing to ever to do, and I had to let myself kind of sit there and feel it, and let those around me support me in whatever they could right now. I mean, I'm letting my kids come and see him and say goodbye. Then I'll take him back. I don't know when, but whenever I'm ready to do that, he says, just call and let him know.
And you're certainly doing what we need to do is to sit with it and feel the feeling rather than avoiding it.
Yeah.
And just the reality of it.
Yeah, it is. And even as a therapist, we I can only speak for myself. When I experience these emotions, I have to remind myself that it's okay to feel these things. I don't need
Right.
to box it up and play Mr. Tough Guy to let my clients that I work with, you know, it's a human emotion. It's a human thing to do. And I would be doing a disservice if I just boxed it up and shoved it aside and not deal with it.
Right. But you see, as males, and sometimes what people think therapists should do, that we should all be able to handle it and be okay and go merrily on our way. And that's not fair. It's not fair
Right.
to us as human beings. And it's
Mm,
also the issue is to have the feeling, and also, when we talk about it and acknowledge it, we also, allow ourselves to feel the feeling and also allow the brain to process it. As you
mhm,
said, when the time is right, I have to do this rather than avoiding the feeling.
mhm.
And so
Yeah, and I think,
often, yeah,
yeah, I was just thinking, with these emotions that come up, but I think it's also important to note that even though you have some anticipation of something happening, like losing a pet, losing a loved one, losing a friend, there's, I think it's a misconception that you can never prepare for it because you just don't feel these emotions until then. Does that make sense?
yep. And the emotion's there, and we have to just sit with it
Mm-hmm.
and be comfortable to know that it's okay. We're having these feelings, and
Mm-hmm.
in fact, it's very necessary to help us even process it and to go through it. We have to acknowledge that it's there, and may even decide not to do something because it would take you away from that feeling.
Sure. Exactly. And I think it's important for us as men, because we live in a social construct that men are not supposed to
Right.
experience emotions and shove it down and be Mr. Tough Guy. But even that is not healthy because as we shove these emotions down, that's when we have a higher rate of agitation, irritability,
Mm-hmm.
and anger.
Yep. Yeah, particularly the anger. It may
Hmm.
come out sideways, or it may come out in terms of harming ourselves, or taking it out on somebody else. We have to understand, I feel sad, and I know the source of it, and I have to just simply acknowledge it, be with it, and take care of myself as I'm
Absolutely.
feeling these. What often
Hmm.
happens is we go and run to overwork or take on tasks to avoid processing the feelings. And then the
Hmm.
feelings just sit there like something bad we ate. It just sits and doesn't go anywhere. And we pay a price for that.
Hmm. Yeah, because we can use distraction skills, like you said, overwork ourselves,
Yeah.
go to drugs and alcohol, but
Right.
yet the emotion is still there. You're just masking what the
Mm-hmm.
core issue is by avoiding the sadness.
But it still hurts. I mean, let's be honest. It hurts.
It
It
does, and
hurts. And that's what we try to avoid. I don't want to feel this hurt. I don't want to feel this sadness. I don't want to.
mhm,
And but uh, we can handle it if we allow ourselves just to sit with
mhm,
it and take care of ourselves. If there's a time we have to kind of like, I have to let this go for a little while. That's okay. But
mhm,
know that you're not masking it. You're just simply saying, I feel this. I want to, see my pet and, my guide dog, and let it's a he.
Yes.
Let him know that you're there for him, because I think, from my own experience with losing guide dogs, they know, and they
Mm-hmm.
know that we care about them, and that's all they need to know. And so we can
Yep.
express our sadness by caring for that, uh, for that little guy, and and know that we're doing something for both for ourselves and for uh,
Mm-hmm.
our friend.
Yeah, and to use, expand on that example you just said, that's what I did last night. I took him and got myself on the floor, and he was next to me,
Mm-hmm.
and there's that bond, right? You
Absolutely.
you can't. I don't know. I can't explain the bond to my guides. It's just remarkable, and I could tell he knew I cared for him and wanted him to not feel the pain that he has been feeling.
And at the same time, you're being there for yourself and acknowledging what you were feeling, and trying to do enough to help both of you.
Yep, exactly.
But so often we avoid sadness. We don't, and we're encouraged to avoid sadness. We're told, oh, as you said, oh, buckle up. It's okay. It's just,
Mhm.
somebody really insensitive, excuse me, it might say, it's just a dog. Oh, no, no, this is my partner. And
Exactly.
yeah, and know the special bond that we have. And then with that, just say, okay, I'm going to feel sad for a while, but I
Hmm.
know the sadness will end at some point when I'm ready to let it go. But I'm going to
Hmm.
just not revel in it. I'm just going to acknowledge that it's there. It's something within
Hmm.
me, and just allow it to be, to accept it.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah, I
when the
mean,
time comes, I can let it go.
yeah, and the example you just gave, well, it's just dog. It's kind of this thing is that concept of toxic positivity, right?
Yes,
Uh, it's not so much that they don't care that it's a dog, but it's like, you know, there can be some toxic positivity to think, it's okay, just shove it down and everything's gonna be okay, you'll
yeah,
get over
yeah,
it. But that in itself is pushing things down and having you just kind of avoid it all.
yeah. Well, that's what some people do. If they see sadness in someone else, they feel uncomfortable. They feel they have to make it all better for you. So they tell you to,
Mm,
buckle up and go on with it. And that's exactly the wrong thing for them to tell you.
exactly. Because they're not giving any empathy, they're not giving uh any human connection there other than something that's shameful.
Right. And see in the experience that I've had, I've been very fortunate. The one time I went, and this is not saying anything about a vet's office, but
Hmm.
the thing was very, had to do it, had to put my pet down. It was done not so much in what I felt was a caring way. It was just professional.
Hmm.
The other dogs that I've had to put down, I've had my friends with me. I didn't have to do it alone. And that made all the difference in the world, both, I think, for my dog and for me to be in connection with people who understood what I was going through and appreciated it
Hmm.
and would just listen to me rather than trying to make me feel better.
Yeah, because that's all we want, right? Is to be
Right.
heard and to be validated and say, yeah, this sucks. I'm going to be in the trenches with you and I'm here to listen.
And you see, the advantage, if I can call it that, the situation you're in is that everybody knows what's going on. You tell them, my dog is coming to the end of his life, and it pains me. Sometimes what happens is we don't have something that visible, but we're feeling sad, and we're trying to figure out, we have to, rather than avoid the feeling, we have to see, what is this coming from? What's happened that I'm feeling so sad? Because sometimes the things are not quite so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and that's when some of the intellect is helpful for us to kind of process, oh, I got this news, or, I think I'm not supposed to feel sad about it, but I am. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I just have to, kind of be with it for the time being, and it'll become clearer to me as to what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
that's
you're,
that insight and awareness, right?
yeah,
We can take a step back and use our wise mind and to connect into our prefrontal cortex to process things logically that we can line up with our emotional brain and
yeah.
kind of work through this.
But you see, if we don't acknowledge it, we can't do any of that work that's necessary to
No,
help
we
us to
can't.
bring
You
the two
have to
together.
acknowledge it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's part of the process that everyone has to go through. But boy, we avoid it like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
I
where we
think,
go into the overworking or keeping ourselves busy so we don't have to look at what's really bothering us. And
mm-hmm,
sometimes we even get confused between sad and angry. And we just say,
mm-hmm.
oh, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah.
Or we,
And
pardon?
yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because, the anger, a lot of times, sadness is kind of like a grieving process, right?
Right.
And so we get into the denial, and then we get the anger and bargaining, and then depression, and then finally into acceptance. And so we go through this mixed bag of emotions to deal with the sadness. And that's okay, because it's okay to bounce back and forth in between those different elements of grieving, because there's no linear process to do that.
Mm-hmm. And the same thing is in terms of saying, "Oh, I shouldn't." That's the operant word. I shouldn't feel this way,
Mm-hmm.
which is ridiculous. We feel this
Mm-hmm.
way, but we
Right.
get this message we give that message to ourselves, or we get it from other people. We shouldn't feel it, and that's where we have to really say, "Okay, where is this coming from?"
Right.
And is the sadness there's some things underneath it that we have to pay attention to, and one of which can be anger. It's easier to be sad than angry sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where it gets very, very confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, anger being a secondary emotion underneath that sad, fear, hurt, all those emotions associated with sadness and depression and grieving and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
One of the interesting things, there's a book out called I Don't Want to Talk About It. It talks about male depression.
Mm-hmm.
And the writer of it was saying that so much of domestic violence, if you work with the individual, and you may have seen this, you find out underlying is depression, unexpressed depression.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes out as, domestic violence. And that's, again, that's the way we may be more comfortable. Instead of sadness or depression, we're more comfortable by being angry. Or sometimes the two are together.
Sometimes they are together, but there's some clear distinctions that separate depression from
Mm-hmm.
sadness. And most people don't realize this. Sadness you know, uh, can be a feeling of losing interest. Man, I don't want to do this. But you also kind of give yourself space and go through it, then, that's part of the grieving process, which is interesting in of itself when you come into bereavement and that whole classification, because bereavement can turn into depression. But it's uncomplicated,
Right.
becomes complicated bereavement, because bereavement usually goes up to, 6 months, but if it goes on beyond that, then it can be complicated bereavement because you're struggling to grieve the loss. But in depression, there's that element of how it impacts your life,
Right. Mm-hmm.
your daily function. It's I can't get out of bed. I'm not eating. I'm not taking care of my activity of daily
Mm-hmm.
living, showering, personal hygiene. You're ignoring your personal responsibilities, your partner, your animals, your whatever, and then
Right.
also ignoring your professional responsibilities, not going to work, not
Not going to work,
productivity work.
drinking, using drugs to avoid the feelings or to anesthetize the
Exactly.
feelings.
And a lot of people feel paralyzed with that, and then
Right.
that's what just differentiates sadness from depression is how it impacts your daily living. And it's not just when I'm at home I get sad, when I go to work I'm fine, but it's going to be across the board in all our daily things, whether it's home, work, school, church, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do we deal with our feelings of sadness? What do we need to do?
I mean, I
What we
think.
said was to sit with them and just
Mhm.
feel them. Are there other things that we ought to be doing that are
There's
positive, that are, lead us in a better direction than drinking or drugging or just not doing anything, being immobile?
right, and sometimes there's some behavioral components there, is pushing yourself out. Yeah, I know, when I get kind of in that stuck rut, in the past, I would make sure, because I get hungry and I know I need to eat and I don't feel like I need to eat. So I push myself out to eat something, usually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Take care of
And then I would
yourself.
go to my stereo system and I would blast Kenny Loggins and dance out, force myself to dance.
There you
And I would
go.
find myself out of that little mental funk, and I can go about my day without my negative self-talk kind of getting to me
Mm-hmm.
and holding me back, and then I'm usually doing pretty good. But yeah, you talk about that. What is it that helps you get through that? Music is huge because it
Mm-hmm.
has a way to allow our emotions to process. We don't have to do a lot of talk theory. Our body knows what it needs. And so for me, listening to music and movement and dance, that helps me tremendously.
Or sometimes just to go out and exercise, but not excessively. Some people, feel if I just absolutely tire myself out, I'll do it. No, you don't. You just need to stretch your
You could
body,
actually be doing
dancing
more.
or exercising or taking a walk in the woods
Hmm.
to kind of process and just to be in nature.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think too much exercise can actually be detrimental to the process
Yeah.
because you don't have any energy to help you process some of this stuff. Because
Mm-hmm.
our brain, if we're expending all of our energy physically, that draws away from our brains where most of our energy is spent. And it's just a never ending vicious cycle, so to speak.
Right, right. But see, it's that balance to be able to take care of ourselves, but not to escape, or at least if you escape from the feeling of sadness, it just for the moment, knowing that you'll get back to it if necessary.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other thing is, of course, writing about uh, about your feelings, putting
Hmm.
them down on paper, or even writing a letter to your pet. To
Yeah,
tell
exactly.
your pet what you might be having trouble saying, because we can't imagine our dogs understand, but they do. But
Yeah, and the interesting thing about writing, as you talk about this, is, well, a lot of people, and even with blind people, so, well, I just think it through my head, but there's this thing called a filter, and our brain automatically filters stuff out, but something beautiful happens when we write it down. It bypasses that filter and everything can come out.
yeah, absolutely.
And then a lot of times people say, well, where do I start? And it says, well, just wherever. It doesn't have to make sense.
Right.
You're not writing an essay to turn in your senior year in high school. You're just, whatever comes out, and that's okay.
It will make itself known to what you need if you give it time, give it the opportunity.
Exactly.
There's a part of you, I think, that operates in helping us, helping ourselves, but we block it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes just sitting with some paper and writing whatever comes to mind allows that to come out.
Yeah, or even drawing or coloring, because sometimes I'll take my clients into the art room and I'll let their inner child come out, because sometimes they don't know what to express for their emotions, and so I'll let them draw what they're feeling. What does sadness feel like? What does that look like to you? And putting that out on paper, and even blind people, even for me, I will engage with them, and mine's very simple, but it makes sense, and they catch on what I'm trying to do and draw.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a beautiful way to do it, is journaling, drawing, music. We talked about that. Going for a walk, definitely. When we walk while we're thinking and processing things, that does a beautiful thing called bilateral stimulation and allows our brain to kind of process what's going on while we're walking.
It's amazing the tools that we have if we use them,
Mm-hmm.
or just allow them to present themselves to us.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, it's okay to, if you're doing everything you can, doing some of these skills, it's okay to say, you know what? Maybe I just need a little bit of help, and go talk to your doctor to see if there's some medication that might help you.
Right, exactly.
The biggest thing I think about when we, go into depression and things like this is a lack of sleep, because our brain needs sleep. And if we're not sleeping well, then that could heighten our sense of sadness or anxiety or
Exactly.
depression or whatever. So, if sleep is a big thing, and well, let's rule out some medical issues that's going on. Let's figure out what we can do to help you
Right.
get to sleep if you're struggling to fall asleep
See,
and stay asleep.
that's a difficult part of being caught in these emotions. As we said earlier, you have to use some of the intellect as well as emotion, but sometimes the emotion is so great that we need kind of a push, if you will, to help us
Mhm.
get some balance. We feel like
Exactly.
we're out of control in a way that's not
Exactly.
real helpful. So we get a professional or get and to kind of help us get back into control. That
Mhm.
is, in terms of a comfort level with that sadness that we have. That is, the sadness is not reigning supreme and pulling us in. Am I
Mhm.
making sense the way I'm putting it?
Yeah, yeah, and go see somebody. It could be an individual therapist, or search around and see if there's a group, uh,
Right.
a group to go to that could be more cost
Exactly.
effective, because it's less expensive to join a group that's focusing on sadness or depression.
Hmm.
Uh, go there and start getting some of the stuff out, and you'd be kind of surprised how much. I mean, there's power in group therapy.
Right. And there are groups for people who've lost their pet. Some
Hmm.
friends of mine were running them for a while. But you can check around and see if you want to be with some other people who are going or have gone through the same thing, and get that feeling of support that you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're entitled to that support. You
Yep,
don't have to do
absolutely.
the
'Cause
John Wayne bullet in your side and you ride off in the sun into the sunset smiling. No, that is not the way to go.
no, no. And the more support we have, the easier it is to deal with these uncomfortable
Right.
emotions.
Yeah.
A sense of community. Hey, I understand where this goes.
Yeah.
Let's get connected. And we don't have to sit and talk about the sadness or anything, but hey, somebody can sit with you. Hey, we can go do something that's fun.
Right.
But if you need to take a break and just kind of pause for a second, hey, you got somebody, so you don't feel that pressure to
Mm-hmm.
put on
Mm-hmm.
some sort of performance or expectation that you have to be not dealing with these emotions.
It is. And you see, it also is helpful for the other person, believe it or not, because there's such a value to closeness. And
Mhm.
when we talk about something like what you're going to, what I feel right now talking to you, I'm thinking about those experiences that I've had and relating so to what you're going through.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's valuable to me to kind of, say, yeah, here's another individual who's been through what I've been through and understand.
yeah, that's one of the things that I am going to be doing. I'm going to be reaching out to one of my other blind handlers that I know, and I know they went through the same process because their dog suddenly died in a car accident.
Oh,
She
yeah.
survived, but the dog did not, and that was very sad and traumatic. But she gets it, and so I'm gonna reach out to my fellow handlers that I know have
Hmm.
gone through this to give me that support that I need.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's all we don't need them to take care of us. They just,
No,
we need the support just to know we're not in
exactly,
this by ourselves.
exactly, and then also somebody who is not going to shame us for going through this.
Right, right. Oh, it's just a dog. That's what some people would say. No,
Mhm,
it
that's
isn't. It's a
that
very
judgment. Not
special
have to have
friend.
that judgment.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, we don't need to be with the people who's going to brush us off like that.
Mhm.
I'm sorry that we have to bring this to a close, but I want to ask you, uh, what is it that you want to leave people with?
I I think the more important thing is like we started out with. It's okay to feel what you feel.
Hmm.
Uh, it's okay. It's not good or bad. It's just uncomfortable, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. And reach out, whoever that is. Could be your family member, a best friend, coworker, whatever. Just reach out and say, "Hey, I'm having a really rough time." You don't need to be so detailed if you're not comfortable sharing details, but at least reach out to somebody. And there's lots of help and lots of you know support. And now we have
Right.
this national mental health emergencies number 988
988.
where
Yes. Hmm.
somebody
Absolutely.
can call and say, "Hey, I'm feeling depressed, I'm struggling, I need to talk to somebody," whatever emotion it is. That's a great resource to have right away if you don't
Right.
have a community and you just need to take the first step. I would encourage people to utilize that uh, resource.
Well, if I could just add one little uh, proviso, and that is the person you choose to reach out to, be sure that you know that they will not brush you off, because that's the worst
Mhm.
feeling in the world. But to be selective with those that you open yourself up to. That's a general good mental health practice, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you gotta, pick somebody who's going to be non-judgmental.
Yeah, yes, and supportive.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I hate to leave it here, but I want to say thank you for sharing. Thank you for being open with your feelings, because I think that's I hate to say a role model, but that is telling people rather than talking about it, feeling the feeling, expressing it, and allowing other people to see that it's okay. And that's what's real important. I really appreciate you doing that. And I wish you the very best
Thank
in the
you. I
process that you're
appreciate
going
that.
through.
Thank you again. I appreciate that.
And this is Blindsight with Bill Lundgren. And the next episode, we're going to be talking about anger, which kind of comes out sometimes with the sadness or in response to the sadness. So we hope that you will pay attention and join us. If you know anyone who's going through what we're talking about today or any kind of sadness, encourage them to tune in to this episode. I think it can be very helpful. And certainly if you can't have the words for somebody, maybe they'll find it in some of the things we've talked about. This is Bill Lundgren, and thank you, Darran, for being here. And if you have any questions about this program or about future, have some ideas, remember our helpline and give us a call and let us know what you think. And I hope that we'll be able to be with you next time. Thank you for being here.